Hello and welcome to today's live YouTube session. This is your guide to buying a house in Lagos, and we're talking about everything you need to know about buying a house or buying a home in Lagos. All right, welcome once again to my channels. Now, let me quickly state that the first thing that you need to do, sometimes people do this as the last thing, but if you want to buy a house or you want to buy a home, the first thing is you have to be sure of your why. And I'll tell you what that means shortly. Now, you want to buy a home to live in, all right? You need to know what exactly you are, why you want to buy a home, and that will guide you to even discover the type of opportunities that you should take. If you're buying a house, for instance, and it's going to be for investment purposes, you want to also be sure of your why. Are you investing in it? Is it an investment? What form of investment is it going to take? Are you buying a house that you're going to put up for long lease? Are you buying a house that you're going to put up for tenancies? Are you buying a house that you're going to put up for short let? Because what you will do in each case is different. So understanding your why you want to own a home, why you want to own a house is one very important step that you need to take when you're buying a house and buying a home in Lagos. Now I have to say that Lagos is one of the most economically viable places in Nigeria. There's a lot of economic activities going on in Nigeria. In Lagos. There's a lot of demand for houses in Lagos, and of course, supply is fixed. And because of the peculiar nature of Lagos, which is that the land in Lagos isn't so much, it's an island, it's surrounded by water. So as houses and there's a lot of demand for houses in Lagos, and it can really be a big challenge. You want to buy a house in Lagos because you're buying a lot of things when you buy a house. You're not just buying the building, you're buying the neighborhood, you're buying the environment, the road that leads to the place. Everything is important, so you want to make sure of that. So the first is your why. So you have to settle your why you want to buy a home, why you want to buy a house, and what exactly you want to achieve with the home or house that you want to buy. Now, another thing that you should then do, number two, is you decide on your budget. So I have here in my notepad here that you also look at the location. But the truth is your budget will determine your location. For instance, if your budget is 50 million to buy a house, there are certain areas that amount cannot buy you a house. So even if you desire to buy a house in that location, your budget will restrict you to where you can get a house for that amount. So your budget is very important. I have to add that when you are budgeting for real estate, when you are budgeting to buy a house, it is not just the price of the house that is your budget, because that is not the only expense you're going to be paying for. If you're going through the services of an agent, the agent is going to be paid for connecting you with the house. Also, documentation is key. You shouldn't actually buy any property if you cannot afford to pay for documentation, because paying for a property alone, paying for a house alone doesn't make you the owner. It is when you have proper documentation, legal documentation showing you are the owner of the property, that's what makes you the owner of the house. You know, a house is fixed, you can't carry it. So it is unlike when I buy a phone, for instance, I walk into the store, I buy a phone, they give me a receipt, they give me the phone, and I take it along with me. You can't take a house along with you. It's going to continue to be at that location. So what is the proof legally that you now own that property? It is you having the requisite documentation, and we will still get to that shortly in the live session. But I have to state that your budget is very important. I have a video on budgeting. I will put the link below so that we can watch the video. All right. Now, when you have decided on your budget, that is when you now decide on the location where you want to buy the property. Which area of Lagos are you buying? On the mainland? Are you buying on the island? If you're buying on the island too is big. Are you buying in Victoria Island? Are you buying in Banana Island? Are you buying in Lekki Phase 1? Are you buying in Shogotedo? Are you buying Orchid Road? Remind me, which other areas do we have on the island? Are you buying Naija? Are you buying Ikota? It's why Mega Mount, there's a lot of houses, you're spoiled for choice. So your location, so you want to decide on your location. Now, what type of house? Are you buying a bungalow? Are you buying a duplex? Are you buying an apartment? Even for duplexes, we've got different types of duplexes. We have the semi-detached duplex, we have the fully detached duplex, and then we have the terraces. So these are the things you have to put into consideration. All right. Now, the internet has made life so easy now. Like I can't remember the last time I actually stepped out of my house to actually shop for some things. it's so easy to get a lot of things online. Although with real estate, of course, you would still have to go. But your initial search, you can do that online, and I'll tell you how to do that. So, if for instance you are wondering, okay, I don't even know what the price range of houses in these areas are, and you're totally lost. This is a very it's very easy. Right here on YouTube, you can do a search: houses in Ekota, houses in Lekki Phase One, houses in Aja. You can go on Google, you can do a search. It will give you a price range of the houses in those areas. So you'll be able to even help you and guide you for your budgeting. All right. So you want to do that. So you then do go ahead and start searching for the house. So you would see a lot of realtors, a lot of companies online. And if you need me to recommend some of the realtors that I work with for you, you can click the link in the description for that. But do your search, all right? Do your search, and after you've done your search, if you finally found pictures, videos of one that really works for you, then you go ahead and book a physical inspection. So it's very important because you have to go and see what you want to buy. And yes, if you're in diaspora and you're wondering, Tosin, I really I'm not around and I can't do that. You can get a trusted person to do that for you. So they can do a video tour of the house, of the road leading to the house. So you like have a very good idea of what you want to buy. I mean, we've done that for quite a number of our clients and it really works. All right. If you cannot come immediately for the search, for the inspection, then you can nominate someone to do that for you. But by all means, you need to see that what you're buying fits into what you really need and your why and what you want. All right. Now, after you've done the inspection, when you have done the inspection and you then decide that yes, this fits the bill, all right, this is what I really want. So you discuss the terms. And okay, before you discuss the terms, you might just want to do this first. You need to do due diligence on that property. The person who is selling to you, how are you sure they are the owner? How are you sure they have legal ownership? You don't want to pay for a house and discover you paid to the wrong person, people who have no link at all with that property. And it happens. A lot of things happens. Actually, real estate in Lagos in Nigeria should be nicknamed "Shine Your Eyes," meaning be extremely careful. Okay, so you want to make sure that you do your due diligence on confirming the identity of the owner, confirming the identity of the person selling to you, and confirming that the person selling to you actually has legal rights to sell. And of course, you can't do that on your own because that's the legal part of real estate. So you want to engage an experienced professional real estate lawyer to do that for you. All right. So you want to make sure that you do that. So you do due diligence on the title. Your lawyer will guide you on that, on the title of the property. And by title, I mean ownership, so that you are paying to the right people. Is there any issues with the land? Is the land free from government acquisition? Is the land did they apply for the necessary building approvals? These are part of the questions that I usually ask and that we get answers to when my clients are buying a house. And I will advise that you follow suit that procedure. All right. Now, when you have done your due diligence and everything checks out, your lawyer would issue you a report stating that everything checks out. This is when you now decide the terms of, you also discuss the terms of the purchase. So sometimes you might be paying an installment for the property. You want to be sure that you and the seller or the developer are on the same page. So you want to agree on, okay, what's the initial payment you're paying, what's the subsequent payment? Are you going to be given the keys when you make the initial payment, or is the keys are going to be given to you after all the payments are made? What happens if you default for any reason? What's the time frame for paying? These are many of the terms that you have to negotiate. If you're paying everything at once, then you might not, some of these terms might not be applicable to you, all right? But whichever one, ensure that you discuss this thoroughly with the seller. It's very important. So after discussing this, you are going to reduce this into writing. So your lawyer is going to draft a contract of sale and a deed of assignment. If you're buying property that you're paying for in installments, the first document that your lawyer will draft and that the seller will sign for you is a contract of sale. That's what shows that, okay, you made payment for this property. This is the remaining payment you're going to be making in installment, the time frame, a provision for default. If you default on payment, what happens? When are you going to be giving the keys? The contract of sale is going to state that. Now, when you finish payment for the property, that's when the seller is going to sign a deed of assignment that effectively makes you the owner. So by signing a deed of assignment, the seller or the developer has transferred ownership of that property to you and they no longer own that property. So you see why the seller is not going to sign that document until you finish the payment. But if you're paying everything at once, then the two documents are going to be signed at the same time. And I usually advise, and I will advise that you do the same, that the signing of the documents and payment happens concurrently. So usually the same day. So as my client is making payment, the seller is there to sign, and everybody is there, and the buyer too would also sign. Because signing that document is very important. Having those documents properly drafted are very important because that's what shows that you are now the owner of the property, and making sure that all the necessary terms are in that document is key. So don't, when it comes to documentation, don't skip on it. Don't wave it aside and say you can do that later. No, it's a totally very risky venture. All right, so after payment, after the documentation, if you've paid in full, yes, you're now the owner of the house. You now own the brand new home or the brand new house, and you can be given the keys. You're given possession. But if you're not paying in full, possession might be after you finish payment. So whichever one, when payment is completed and deed of assignment is completed, you now have a house. I think this is where we should pop some champagne and yes, and just make some noise. Congratulations. So what happens thereafter? After you own the house, so let me add some little bit of gist and some practical things that I've learned working with my clients buying a home in Lagos. So I have to state that oftentimes you won't get a home or a house that is 100% completed. So you want to include in your budget, yes, that there are some extra things that you will have to fix in the house. Okay, so you won't likely get a house that is 100% complete. Even if it's 100% complete, it might not be to your taste. And I'm not talking like you're now renovating the house. No, definitely not, because we're talking about buying a brand new house here. But you have to also include in your budget that maybe some 1, 2, 3 million, depending, to do some other things in the house to make it to your taste. All right. Now that is where the house is yours. It's fully yours. It's now an asset that is making money for you. So let me quickly ask this question because it's been a question that usually get people talk about. So people say that when you buy a house and it's a home and you're living in it, that is not an asset, it is a liability. What do you think? Do you agree to that? When you buy a house that you live in, is it an asset or is it a liability? All right, so this is where we draw the curtains to this live session on owning a home or owning a house in Lagos, Nigeria. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comment section. I would be glad to answer them. And if you want to reach out to me and my team, and you need our services, or you need legal advice, you need real estate advice, there's a link in the description below. You can go ahead and click that, and it's going to take you straight to fill a form, and then you can reach out to us. And if you have questions, remember to type in your questions. So I'm going to be leaving a link to some videos that you should watch, a video on budgeting, a video on the two things that you must do when you buy any property, without which you don't own that property. It's very important, it's very key. I'll leave the link in the description box below, and I'll see you in those videos. Thank you.